Okay, we are streaming now, but I need to set up the stream key for this. So away we go for that. Well done. We're going to see whether or not the audio is working on this. I should be streaming. I am not entirely sure. We will figure it out. I'm right now typing in the chat for Roll20 in order to provide direction because I'm not sure that the audio is working. We will see if it is or it isn't. But for those who are working, welcome to the Spell Duel. I'm assigning sheets now. Looks like Method receives Wizard 6. Moving that over right now. And Crow gets Wizard 8. Assigning that over right now. See, now we got some momentum going. I see that Bahasa has posted a link in the chat. I would imagine that it's a functional link. You would know is better than I, because I actually tried to stream this thing no more than 5 minutes ago, and it echoed endlessly and created a weird loop where it was recording everything I was saying and layering it over. It was okay. Great, you can hear me on the link. Perfect. All right. Well, then I will keep talking to avoid dead air. And I'm also going to assign the. I'll be showing the rules. Fabulous. Thank you, Method. No reverb, audio clarity. What more can we hope for in life? Right now we have 4 people. We had actually 16 people sign up. So we will see. I'm going to give it another 17 minutes, 16 minutes. The clock just ticked before people show up. I have actually created handy handouts for the rules, as well as took screenshots of the Spell Duel check comparison table and the Phlogiston disturbance table in the event that counterspells occur, and the counterspell power table is also present. The standard DCC rules for Spell Duels apply, meaning that a counterspell has to be announced by the person that loses initiative in order for an actual spell duel to occur. But I'll do my whole spiel about how I learned this technique or this approach to spell dueling with Harley at Gen Con a couple of years ago, where he had a table set up with stacks of printouts of wizards so that people could just battle to the death in a matter of minutes. That was the inspiration behind this. It might be a brief battle to the death. Yes, exactly, Crow. They just they're in their wet beds, crying into their pillows, biting the blankets. Couldn't take it. And here is that promised Spell Duel rules sheet that I put together. It's not really a sheet, it's a sidebar. Here you go. You should be able to see it now. I think you were able to see it when you logged in, but now I just popped it up in front of all of you. Yeah, maybe if nobody else shows up in the next 10 minutes, we're going to go. And yeah, to your point, it's going to be a pretty brief fracas, and I'll probably have to weigh in myself. I will likely lose, much like I did at Gen Con. I think I went through like 4 wizards. I had a really good feeling about this one guy. He used Levitate to move the other wizard off of the playing field and drop him into a pit. The way it was actually going down there was in a tournament setting, theater of the mind, but where the duel was taking place on a pillar that was basically 30 feet in diameter. So it was very close quarters fighting. Low result on Flaming Hands would have wiped out the other wizard. If my memory serves, which usually it doesn't, usually it's quite disobedient, that is the setting, or near enough to the setting of the Enter the Dagon Spell Duel, which is one that I've actually always wanted to do. I was running a maritime campaign. Broken Gnome. Welcome. Broken Gnome. First of all, great avatar. Grumpy Bear was always my favorite bear as well. That or Luck Bear. I just like the color green. But welcome. And now that we have 4 players, we have 2 solid brackets. Broken Gnome, would you be so good as to roll D16? And that's going to determine what wizard sheet you're assigned. Yeah, no, I feel like Enter the Dagon is kind of its own meal. Like, you don't really need to run a huge campaign to lead up to it, which is actually what I was doing. I ran 2 campaigns and I thought, all right, when they hit level 5, let's do Enter the Dagon. By the time the players had hit level 5, the narrative had kind of sewn itself up. So we moved on in both instances. But like you said, Crow, I think that one of these days I might just run Enter the Dagon for its own thing. It's yet to really hit for me as to what this backstory would be, because I like the element of just like, well, it's just like Enter the Dragon. You're going to be going onto an island of death and tackling other wizards. There's a deeper conspiracy there for you to explore. That said, I always try and have some degree of an emotional center for my campaigns or my adventures that I run, so that when tragic events happen, it's all the more heartbreaking. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. Rolling 1DF. Let's give it a try, though, Broken Gnome. What you want to do is, and I'll type the command with some ellipses in front of it so you can see. What you want is roll 1D16, like I just put into the chat. But yeah, rolling 1DF. Uh-oh. We lost our Grumpy Bear. Hopefully he'll come back. The clouds usually do. Such is life. All right, he's back. Welcome, Broken Gnome. Splendid. But yes, and Enter the Dagon. Want to give it a shot. I think it feels like a convention module to me. And I don't mean that in like sitting at a table with a bunch of other people in the middle of the convention. It feels like an after hours thing. It feels like an Inferno Road kind of experience where you can get a little crazy. But I will say that one of my favorite things about being at a convention when the DCC crew is present is the gong. I don't know if any of you have witnessed the gong, but Brendan had the gong at Gen Con 24 when I was there. And every time that thing went off, just the whole crowd. And I'm talking most of Lucas Stadium that could hear it would go off because the gong is just, by its very nature, it's celebratory. Except on the Gong Show. I guess in the Gong Show, it was a bad thing. So here we are at 10 minutes after the hour. We got 4 players. Broken Gnome, can you try and roll those dice again? I just want to make sure that you are all squared away on the technical aspect of how this is going down. Because what we're going to be doing, given that we have the sheets as handouts, is rolling raw. And the reason why is because Roll20 functionality on DCC sheets is a little bit complicated. I'm not going to say it's faulty. It's not. But there are a lot of moving parts, and especially when it comes to wizard spells. So I felt like having players have to rely on the automated functionality of the sheets, meaning the ones that are built into the mechanics of Roll20, would have been difficult. Because if you're applying luck or you're applying spellburn, it gets complicated. So we're going to be, oh, fabulous. Oh, that's amazing, Crow. That's the way to do it. So you say that your first Gen Con's coming out. Well, congratulations on that, just on the face of it. And you're running in the Wizard Van. The Wizard Van is truly a wonder to behold. So being able to run in it, that's quite the honor. You're going to have a memorable experience of once. Well, maybe I was about to say once in a life experience, but it's one you'll remember the rest of your life, I'm sure, even if you do it multiple times. But no, the whole group is great, as you would imagine, and the energy at Gen Con's really great. I did nothing but hang out with the DCC crowd. We walked the floor, and we checked out other products and sort of scoffed at them. But that was basically it. Just kicking it with the crowd was more than sufficient to have an amazing time. And I'm going to be going again this year. I'm actually going to be speaking at Trade Day on the subject of Kickstarters. Well, not specific to Kickstarter, but rather crowdfunding, and how indie creators can go from having a cool idea to making that cool idea into a product roadmap, to turning that into some really solid marketing, and then finally going all the way through to launching, to actually printing, and then fulfilling, and then finally dealing with our good friends, the IRS. Okay. Yeah, Crow, you are solid. The 1d24 roll went off fine. My only question mark is, Method, I've seen you roll as well, and Bahasa, you and I roll on a twice a week basis, is whether or not Broken Gnome, you're able to roll. So if you could, in the next few minutes, go ahead and try a roll for me. And again, I'm going to post in the chat. What you want is to type something like this. A roll 1d16. If you dare. Yeah. That's right. Only the bold have shown up today. I think everybody else got excited and then, like you say, just kind of ran for the hills. Also, it's a Tuesday. By the way, for those that are unaware, the reason why this is happening on a Tuesday is because BackerKit swears up and down that the best activity is always on a Tuesday. And the reason why is because Monday, everybody shows up at work or logs into their home office and they deal with their Monday. So chock-a-block, they're just trying to handle official emails, get things organized. But by Tuesday, you're kind of screwing around. You're checking what's going on Reddit. That too gets good engagement. And you're especially looking at your email. And that's why BackerKit says launch on Tuesday, because that's when people pop into their inboxes in terms of their personal email, and then they go and they back the project. So that's why this always happens on a Tuesday. I would say I may want to try and do a weekend event just to kind of build the hype. But at this point, I am kind of riding the wave, folks. That big old tidal wave that is Goodman Games Mega Dungeon Month. I'm psyched. I was just saying to Bahasa ahead of time that once this is done, I'm going to hop into backing other projects. Not to claim some favorites, but I will say that having worked with some of them behind the scenes, I'm especially excited for Ed Stanik's, Marzio Muscadere's, the Nerdonomicon one, the Mutant Spawn of the Toad Mother, and Dragon Peak. And I'm actually working with Stefan to create some exclusive cross-promotional content that links his adventure, the one that he was doing with Julian and the crew, with Descent of the Ancient Fane. All right, enough hype for the projects. I think we're ready to get rolling. Again, Broken Gnome, not to call you out, my friend, but if you could please try and roll the 1d16. And if you can't hear me, I'm going to try and drop an @ here. @ Broken Gnome. Please try to roll 1d16. Sir or bear. And thank you. Thank you, Crow, for posting the link again. And now, there you go. A moment of silence. Ah, perfect. See? Teamwork making the dream work. I see the Broken Gnome is now typing. I have a good feeling. We could try doing that. So what you want to do, if it did not, you want to include a slash before you type roll, such as roll 1d16. I'm doing this tech support both. There we go. Fabulous. No, let me get you your sheets. Now, everybody, now that the sheets have been assigned, please type in the name of your wizard, because this is the one that's going to go down in history. And as you do so, I'm going to be assigning wizard number 15 to everybody's favorite Care Bear, Broken Gnome. And Broken Gnome, if you can, hey, no worries. We work through it together. I struggle with Roll20 on a pretty much weekly basis, and I've been using it for about 3 years. So absolutely no shade. I'm gonna type right here that you have been assigned Wizard 15 and should be able to see your sheet. And if you can hear me on YouTube, please let me know. Indeed, that is where I am talking. Excellent. Fabulous. All right. So, Gizmodius is the first one. Don't let him eat after midnight, and don't get him wet. Or it'll be like well, his name is Gizmodius. So Zoltar Gravestorm. Okay, so I don't want to, again, Zoltar Gravestorm. Fabulous. You came ready to play, Method. You brought your A game in terms of that name. Bahasa, did you have a name for your wizard yet? I don't see typing, but I feel it coming on. Well, Method, that campaign is blessed to have you. Just by virtue of the name alone. We'll see if it becomes an actual Gravestorm, and then we have Bimbles, and we have Aruzar the Invincible. All right, well, we're loaded up to set the scene, and in fact, I may as well set the scene for you in terms of showing you where you are. You the brave wizards are in the Golden Cave, which is an extraplanar realm of the demon lord, or lady, if you will, of desire, and that is Oniskelis in the Fane. In the Ancient Fane, this is going to be level 3 of the Fane. Bahasa is in a playtest where we're wrapping that up right now. And I'll actually give you a shot of what this looks like. I will upload the image of the Golden Cave where this Spell Duel tournament is taking place. If you will give me but a moment. Clicking through, finding this outstanding piece by Faith Murphy. Faith Murphy, who's really setting the scene on fire, I gotta say. She came in, I know her, she's a friend of Thorin Thompson's. And to make a long story short about Faith, she really nails the vintage line art aspect. And so this is the Golden Cave, folks. And this is where you are right now, at a party. And it has been decided that to make things all the more exciting, we're going to move past through wine and cheese and we're going to get into spell dueling. So you are the wizards who have stepped up in order to delight the audience and earn the favor of Oniskelis herself. And so, let's assign our brackets. We're going to do this. We're going to do Aruzahar versus Zoltar. And we're going to do Gizmodius versus Bimbles. Now, how this is going to work, I'm going to pop another handout in your face real quick, is that now that we're past the getting ready phase, we're going to roll initiative for the first bracket. Once that's done, the person that's called on, you tell the name of your spell, and then you roll the spell check. The points for it should be on the sheet. So this is your spell check, your level, plus your intelligence modifier, plus any spell burn that you're going to be applying, and any luck that you're putting in there. Not a problem method. We have plenty of time. I was talking to Crow this morning on Discord and was saying, yeah, I think we can make the 2 hours. Now I'm certain we can make the 2 hours. And I'll try to make the best use of your time. I'm going to make it as entertaining as possible. But we're going to make it through. So, as I say, we're going to do... actually, let's do this alphabetically. Let's do Aruzahar versus Bimbles, and then we're going to do Gizmodius versus Gravestorm. And the reason that we're going to be doing this is because that way, method, you and can get a sense of how it goes down. So, Bahasa. Aruzahar steps up to the plate, which in this case is the middle of this large golden ballroom in the Golden Cave, surrounded by their partygoers and Broken Gnome. Bimbles does the same. So please, both of you roll initiative, which is going to be, for those who do not know, a D20 roll modified by your agility. Well, all right, Aruzahar is ready to party. Broken Gnome, can you give me a 1d20 roll for initiative modified by your agility? Which is a +1. FYI. No problem. So let me try and give you access to the sheet again. I'm going to check it out. So you want to do /R space 1d20. And yes, exactly as Crosh says, I am where you want to be looking for it is under the journal, which is up at the top. And barring that, I can share your sheet with everybody, but I don't want to do that. I want you to be able to keep your cards close to your chest. So let's see if you can find it in your journal. And if you can't, just type in the chat that you can't, and I will go ahead and present your sheet to all. Show to all players. Very good. So Broken Gnome, you actually get a 20. So Broken Gnome, you're going to be excellent. All right, so choose the spell that you're casting, and then do, as you have been, /R, and then your spell check is going to be 1d20 plus your level, which is 5, and then plus your intelligence modifier, which is 1. So all in, that's 1d20 plus 6 on whatever your spell is. And if you want, you can spell burn your stats. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the mechanic. If not, we can walk you through it. And you also have luck to burn as well. I know that was a bit of a mouthful. I will stop talking and allow you to type out your spell of choice. Now, I was saying, I just said I would stop talking, but I didn't. Anyway, I was saying that in the Spell Duel rules for this event, we're going to institute a 1-minute limit on spell choice. I think that that's appropriate to say at this point. So you got a minute to type out your spell. Okay, Choking Cloud. So Bimbles comes up, and much like the cloud on your avatar's chest, is going to be trying to manifest a cloud. And so let's see what we get from Choking Cloud. Oh, we have a counter spell. Well, Bahasa, keep them in suspense, man. All right, so Gnome, you want to, of course, /R 1d20 plus 6 is your baseline. You can also burn luck and spell burn to make it more effective, if you wish. But we know what Aruzahar is going to be doing. Excuse me. Yeah, Aruzahar. Oh, did you? Okay. See, we live and we learn. You tell me rules is written on a weekly basis. So we're going to be looking at the counterspell mechanics. Yeah, we do. We do need to do things. And no, once you flip that slash around, we're going to have a spell result. I just know it. And I can roll it for you if you'd like, Broken Gnome. Okay, so let me see here. I'm going to make sure that roll went across all right. It looks like the result was a 16, but I'm wondering, I haven't seen that formula before. And I'm wondering if the actual number on the die, the virtual die, was a 16, which would make it a 24. I think we're going to treat it like it was. Because what I'm seeing there is 1d20 and no addition. So the 8 was not added. So we're going to add the 8 manually. So all in, check is a 24. Bahasa, Aruzahar is counterspelling. So, sees the vapor begin to emit from the hands of Bimbles. And is going to try and counter it. Aha. Okay. Well, you have called counterspell. And so the roll is done. And now we know what you're up against. So if you would be so good, let's do that counterspell. Let's see what that spell check is. Just roll first, and then you can explain. And we have charts to that effect. Okay. So 17 matched against a 24 means that we're looking at a D7. So I'm going to roll a D7 on the counterspell table, like so. And what we get from a 6 is that the attacker overwhelms and reflects. And so what we do is the attacker's spell takes effect first, and 1d8 is subtracted from the defender, meaning Aruzahar's check. So 8 is subtracted from Aruzahar's check, which causes it to fail. And as for Bimble, a single acidic poisonous cloud appears around Aruzahar. It manifests this great stinging miasma, and the target in the cloud for 2d4 plus 4 rounds, which I'm going to be rolling, suffers a -4 penalty to all rolls and takes 4 points of damage each roll and must make a fortitude save. So let us first resolve what happens in the next round, because we know that Aruzahar has been affected. It's going to be for the maximum result. We're talking 12 rounds and -4 penalty to all rolls. And so Broken Gnome, you're going to be casting again. So choose your next spell. And then we go again. And you veteran spell duelers out there who are wise in the ways of rules as written, okay, Scorching Ray. Go ahead and cast your spell check for Scorching Ray. So it's going to be 1d20 plus 6 plus anything that you want to spell burn on. And for those following along at home, by which I mean, of course, Crow and Method, mostly Method, if this is difficult to follow, by all means chime in with questions. It's a situation where we've had some pretty dramatic results right off the bat. And of course, Bahasa was able to drop that counter spell. So a 19 on Scorching Ray. Fabulous. I'm glad to hear that this was helpful. 19 on Scorching Ray. Bahasa, you are still typing. We know that right now a cloud has manifested around our good buddy Aruzahar, who's being burned by it. Gotcha. Okay. So the second attack, it would be a D14 if it was in the same round. And this is where I feel like I, to an extent, must defer to the crowd. My impression is that when a counterspell is cast, that takes the wizard's action. Indeed. And so Bahasa is therefore Aruzahar going to be taking the blast from the Scorching Ray, because I'm visualizing that. I'm visualizing that he's being singed in the cloud, struggling, and then he gets hit with the ray. So if you could just confirm that with me, because I think that there's no counterspell, we'll just have you take damage. Right, exactly. Hence the Scorching Ray, blasting from Bimble's hand. So it's one target taking. So you're taking the damage then. So Bimbles, I'm going to go ahead and roll the damage from your array, which all in is an 11. So you're down 15 hit points, Ruzahar. And please give me a reflex save. This one, as opposed to the poison one, is one that we need to know right now because you might be lit on fire. So just to check your sheet, to give some guidance, not that I even really feel like I need to do this, but your sheet indicates that your reflex save is going to be at +2. And it's do or die time for Ruzahar. I don't know what he looks like, but whatever he's wearing, it might light on fire. It doesn't. So even though he's being corroded by the cloud, he leaps to the side, evades the worst of the ray, gets a bad burn, but now it's your attack. So it's time for you to give as good as you got. So announce your spell, and let's see that spell check. I see you typing. Excited to see what goes down. Yes, that is correct. No chance for counterspell. Sleep is all queued up. In these final desperate seconds for Ruzahar, he's got the vicious burn, the sick burn, if you will, and also is burned by the cloud. He steps to the side. You are at -4, yes. Actually, my friend, time out on that one. You're at -4. It says to all rolls, and I would say that's a spell check, but it's not specified. So let us proceed with the all rolls applying. So you are at -4. I think it's time to dig deep, as they say. And see how sleep works for you. We see that the spell check is coming up in the chat. The audience is watching on the edge of their seats, leaning in to the scene of carnage. All right, we're hanging on. We'll see if fate smiles upon you. It usually does when you burn luck, but I'm knocking wood. Okay, so that's 17. We'll see if you apply some luck. The 17 means that Bimbles is going to have to save against it or fall asleep for 1d6 turns. And it's going to be normal sleep. Not that it's going to last very long one way or the other. Because passing out in this kind of situation, not great. So are you going to be applying luck, Bahasa? 5 points of luck. That brings it up to a 22. So Bimbles, here's what you want to do. You want to roll a will save. And for your wizard, that's going to be 1d20 plus 3. And what you want to do is get a 19 or higher. You too can apply luck. You can burn luck to get out of the situation. Just so you know. So Broken Gnome, if you would, it's going to be a 1d20 plus 3. And any luck points you care to burn. Because sleep's a finisher. I'm going to be keeping my eye on the clock. All right, we see the typing is happening. We'll see how it goes down. A brief discussion on the efficacy of sleep in DCC. We were once playing, a couple of years ago, a campaign that was Temple of Elemental Evil. And we tangled with some foes that were wearing plate armor. We were all, I want to say, 3rd level. Suffice it to say that our warriors were getting just creamed by these people in full plate armor. But when our wizard drops in sleep, well, okay. Broken Gnome. An 18, not going to do it. Which means that Bimbles passes out. So, after delivering a blistering ray and a similarly blistering cloud, I should say, Bimbles drops to the ground, having passed out, and now is at the mercy of Aruzahar. So, Bahasa, the floor is yours. With poor Bimbles piled on the floor like a stack of laundry. And Aruzahar stalking forward, singed, seething, badly scarred by a scorching ray, down 15 hit points. Of his prodigious 24 hit points, I should note. Yes. Well, this ends our first fight in a way that the Golden Cave thirsts for. And they thirst for blood. And so, as the dagger smoothly glides through the flesh of Bimbles' neck, the blood sprays, some spatters the crowd, and the crowd goes wild. The floor is then cleared of the carcass. Aruzahar probably limps off to work off some of those rounds of being poisoned. And now we go to Crow versus Method, a.k.a. Gizmodius against the inimitable Zoltan Gravestorm. So Zoltan Gravestorm and Gizmodius, please give me an initiative roll from both of you. Yeah, we'll see if Aruzahar lives up to his name. He's going to be in the semifinals. He's going to be in the finals. We know that. We're already in the semifinals. What am I saying? Okay. So, Crow, that's a 5. Do you have any modifier on your sheet, folks? I mean, Method, I think it's safe to say you're going to win this one. So, consider that question erased. All right, Method, you're going first. As you've seen in the process, what you want to do is announce what spell you're going to be casting, and then that'll give Crow an opportunity to counterspell if he's able. So be so good. Yes, not a plus 15. Few have those kinds of initiative modifier. A little bit of a glimpse behind the scenes here at Witch Pleas Publishing. I do like to give my monsters, at least the ones that are in significant fights, a decent initiative modifier, because I can't tell you how many times I have been running a game and I'm really ready to drop some pain on the party, and I've got like a really nice vicious monster. He's got 72 hit points. He's ready to rock, and he rolls like an initiative roll of 4, and the party just dogpiles him and cuts him into smithereens before he can even use one of his special powers. Scorching Ray. It's a classic for a reason. All right, so Method, as you observe, what you want to do is roll a 1d20 for your spell check, plus your caster level, plus your intelligence modifier, plus whatever spell burn you are going to be applying. And of course, spell burn is the exhaustion of your stats. So I will hush. Zoltan works his magic. Zoltan stepping up into the center of the ballroom, pacing across the gold-flecked marble of the Golden Cave. So a 24 on Scorching Ray. And from what I'm hearing, Crow, I know it was all happening rather quickly. Do you have the ability to counterspell? Do you care to counterspell? Can you counterspell? I felt that this is one of those things. If we were at a table, eye to eye, we would know that a pause would be called for. And I almost feel like subsequent matches and so forth, what we're going to do is after the first spell is cast in initiative, we're going to confirm whether or not the other person is counterspelling or not counterspelling. So to your point, Bahasa, the counterspell should have been announced before the roll, but because this is a virtual environment where we're not interacting over audio, we're only using text, I think that what we'll do moving forward is when that first spell is announced, we're going to wait on the roll. And we're going to have the other player confirm either no counterspell or counterspell. I think that'll make it most fair. But things happen fast. And so we're going to allow this counterspell. They both have Scorching Ray. And so, Crow, why don't you give me your counterspell roll, please? Yeah, I look at the book and it even talks about fire spells being sort of a class of spells that can be used to counter one another. So yes, I will allow Scorching Ray to be countered by Flaming Hands. And as such, let's see that counterspell roll. We're hoping for a 24. We all want to see a phlogiston disturbance. I, for one, like to write in circumstances where phlogiston disturbance So yes, that is an excellent question. So method, how much were you burning some stats to get to the +9? Just checking. All right. Gizmo slices through one of his prominent ears. Okay, fabulous. So as you wrote out, Bahas, what we'll do is Wizard writes in what spell, ask of the other counters, reveal spell burn simultaneously. I'm even copying this text. Ooh, a 25. We might just see that disturbance yet. But no. Sadly, it was 1 away. And we roll a D3 in favor of the defender. Okay, so both wizards burning their strength, slicing ears, shedding blood. I'm rolling that 1D3, so that's a 1 on the table for counterspell with a defender high. Mitigate 1d4. So roll 1d4 and subtract this from the Zoltan Gravestorm spell check. The attacker's spell still carries through, but at this lower spell check, the defender's spell is canceled. So it's something. So Crow, why don't you roll me a d4? Okay, so that it reduces it to a 23. That means 3 rays soaring from the hands of Zoltan Gravestorm. And I will let you roll your own damage method. What you want to do is roll 3d10 plus 15. Because each ray is going to be doing 1d10 plus your caster level, which is 5. Oh, excuse me. I am wrong. It is 1d12 plus caster level. So 3d12. But I mean, either way, I have a bad feeling about that 30. We could re-roll. Let's re-roll. Let's be fair. I'm sorry to have hit yet another bump in the road, but Method, would you be so good as to roll 3d12 plus 15, please? Because there is a chance, I feel, that Gizmodia stands strong. Well, it was a very slim chance. It was a very slim chance. So Gizmodia slices his ear. Meanwhile, Zoltan Gravestorm is also bleeding considerably from whatever spell wound he it inflicts on himself, and then from him soars scorching rays. The hands fire up. There's a brief shield of flame, but that's blasted aside by the infernal radiance of the three rays, which strike poor Gizmo and just light him up, and he's burnt to a little gremlin crisp. All right. So now we enter the final round. We have Zoltan Gravestorm at full hit points, and we've got our good friend, the much beleaguered Aruzar. Avenge me indeed. Exactly, reaches to the crowd as his hand turns to cinders. Presumably talking to Aruzahar, who's looking pretty rough, probably having a glass of Chablis on the sidelines to steel his nerves. All right, final round. I'm going to post the rules in terms of the order that Bahasa so capably typed out. Bahasa, method, please, if you will, give me 1d20 rolls for your initiative. 1d20 modified by agility. We'll see how the initiative order stacks up. All right. Ruzahar, little rusty. Feeling a little rusty. So 6 versus 4. All right. So Zoltan's feeling his oats. Strides on up to the singed and blistered Oruzahar. The crowd is cheering, jeering, and leering as you step into the blood and flame that was left behind by the two past battles. And now, method, much like we spelled out in that order, write in what your spell is, and then we're going to wait to see if Bahasa counters. So let's type that spell. And for those who have fallen, a brief sidebar, I will once again go back to my Gen Con experience where I died like 3 times until I found a guy that could make it past the first round. And then he, I think, perished in the 4th round. Well, actually, he was put to sleep. And unlike in this circumstance, the other wizard didn't finish him off. He just kind of let him lay there. So he took a long nap and then woke up later in the Isle of Dagon, all humiliated. Okay, Scorching Ray. Again, it's a classic for a reason. Bahasa. Are we countering? Can we counter? We can counter. All right. Now we got ourselves a real spell duel. It's interesting that every one of these spell duels has resulted in a spell duel. And by the way, this was not by my design. These sheets come from Purple Sorcerer TM, a great source of sheets. So now what we want to do is reveal your spell burn simultaneously. So yes, precisely. Bahasa, you tell me how much, you type in how much you're going to spell burn. Method, while Bahasa's typing, you type in. When you're ready, yep, exactly. I'll wait a second. I'm actually going to let it wait a full minute. We're going to go to 9:54 a.m. Pacific time, because then you both will be ready. I see Bahasa's typing in his. When I've seen that you both are done typing, I will call for what the spell burn is. Our beleaguered competitors. I should say beleaguered competitor. Ruzahar the Invincible is all jacked up. But Zoltan doesn't even have his clothes crimped. He is still dressed to the nines, untouched. All right. I see that you both are typing. And we're actually going to give it another minute or so, or next few ticks of the clock, because this is going to be a big one. I have a feeling for it. All right. We're almost there. 9:55 Pacific. For those of us in Minnesota, that's 11:55. I need you to both hit your enter key and tell everybody what your spell burn is. I'm assuming you're ready. Wonderful. Okay, so Bahas is ready. Method, are you ready? Ready. Fabulous. Drop it. Let's see that spell burn. Whoa. Holy shit. Okay. So like basically Zoltan's like ripping his own chest open. Yes, can you give us the breakdown on what you've burned? You burned 3 straight the last time. I laugh because, well, I understand. Yes, 2 fingers. Well, I think two arms is probably more accurate. But yes, now can you give us the breakdown of what your what stats you are burning to hit the 25? And unfortunately, I cannot. Yes. Okay, so 13 points of agility, 5 stamina, and do me the favor. I was scrolling up to find this answer. Which wizard did you receive? I'm wondering which wizard sheet you got. This extremely spry wizard who has 13 agility to burn. Because we can only burn down to 3. Yes, that would be the reasonable total, Bahasa, to your point. And I will say that one moment. Just checking what's popping up in the chat here. Yeah, we can only burn down to 3. Anything less than 3, and you're just an inoperable husk. And that tally looks fine to me. If you'd be so good as to just tell me which wizard you were playing, I just want to take a quick gander at that, and then we will be off to the races on what will be by far a dominating spell check. And the reason why I chuckle is because when I spell burn, I tend to spell burn like that. Well, I tend to do that for the boss fight. And if I'm in a longer campaign where I can rest for a month, which is usually the case. Resource management in DCC is still kind of a new thing, and I'd like to test it in future module design. Alrighty. Wizard number 6. This is indeed your boss fight. Well, let's do that just for a little bit of color here. Let's see if Gizmodius is still alive under all those horrible burns. Oh dear. Apparently not. Apparently we're going with the original narrative. Ashes it is. And yes, Method, you were absolutely right. It was Wizard 6. It was elusive because the chat history had cut off. But if we consult the sheet for Wizard 6, we find somebody who has, as you say, let's see, 11 agility, absolutely. Yeah, the numbers add up, as they say. And so, Zoltan, stepping up, looking great. Ruzard, not looking so great. And out of Zoltan pours a font of fiery energy. in the direction. But there was a counterspell, so we're still going to be consulting the counterspell power table, which means, Bahasa, your roll was... You haven't done your roll. So you did 5. So give me a 1d. Basically, give me your counterspell roll. And Method, believe it or not, even with that prodigious amount of spell burn, which you burned 3 strength, so you were at 11, and then you burned the rest of it as strength, so down to 3. So you're looking at 21. So Method, if you would give me a spell check roll with 21 points of spell burn. Let's see what we got. Brilliant. Thank you, Crow. That's awesome. And what great timing. Yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I noted that. You do not touched your stamina and agility, I believe. Or did you burn your stamina? In any event, I know it comfortably burns to 21 plus your spell check. And I honestly think, what with Bahasa rolling a 2, yeah, so you roll, I'm going to check your sheet, but it's going to be plus 21 on what your conventional spell check is, which is going to be, let's see, your intelligence gives you plus 1, so it would be plus 27. 1d20 plus 27. But again, given that your opponent rolled a 13, even with his considerable spell burn, and I say considerable, it wasn't exhaustive like yours, but considerable. So 44 is probably going to do it. So attacker spell check, 28 plus against 13. What you want to do is roll a d14. Roll a d14 for the counterspell power. And I'm talking to you, Method. Looking at a d14. Okay, a 9. So 9 is overwhelm and reflect. Roll 1d4 and subtract it from the defender's spell check. The attacker's spell takes effect first at normal spell check result, and the defender's spell check is reflected back on him at the lower spell check result. So I will be rolling that d4. And so, basically, it's a 12 on Scorching Ray is not a successful spell. So the good news is that you're not harmed by your own spell, Aruzahar. However, you do take the effects of a spell check 44 Scorching Ray, which is the caster summons a jet of magma and flame from the Earth's core, which explodes upwards from their feet and then blasts out at their enemies. So basically, Zoltan Gravestorm lives up to his name by summoning a volcano in the middle of the Golden Cave, which probably, yes, takes out Aruzahar, or certainly does. Definitely make sure that roll of the body check fails for Gizmodius, but almost certainly wipes up most of the crowd, because we're talking about a Scorching Ray of Flame at any target you can see. I trust Gravestorm would like to... Yes, exactly. Go ahead and roll your damage. It's, as Bahasa was saying, Method, roll 6d20 plus 5. As this enormous column of magma blows out of the lovely marble flooring. Oh, good Lord. Well, you know what? You've never failed to roll high, and the damage was certainly no exception. 80 points of damage. I don't think we need to worry about rolling the body on this one. Aruzahar, sadly, did not live up to the name. He certainly did in the semifinals, the final round. He is not but less than ashes. There's just this volcanic eruption. You roll it anyway. Somehow he toppled to the side. Yes, he's still alive. And therein lies the story. And I think that probably I'm going to include this incident in the Descent of the Ancient Fane. Having a severely singed wizard mentioned in the background. But it is Zoltan Gravestorm who gets his name in the actual book, meaning the PDF and print editions, even the D&D version. His name will be etched forever. Method, I'm going to toss you our email address. Heck, everybody can use it. Go ahead and reach out to that email address if you would, and make personal contact with us, and we will go ahead and include your PC in this. We're going to have some discussion about what Zoltan looks like, what his deal is, how player characters can earn his favor, because that's what it goes down in the Golden Cave. Much like we saw today, it's all about entertainment, making friends with important people. But thank you so much, my friends. It was wonderful to have this go down with you all. I certainly learned how to do an even better spell duel next time. I think what we're going to do is have one big Zoom room for the audio. And we're also going to use Bahas's clearly defined order of operations. But all of you contributed in a way that was very special. Thank you so much. Thank you for being backer number one, Crow. Thank you all for having a great time. You made my Tuesday, and now it's off to the races where it gets only better. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will see you in the funny papers, folks.